Hey there.
Hey, how's it going?
Going good. All right. Still, so the purpose, if I can understand this right, what we're meeting together, is there anything besides discussing that we're going to be doing with this?
I don't. So I'm pretty sure it's just meeting to discuss. That's what I got from the that post or whatever it was.
I'm completely fine with that. Just the last class I had, we had to read, discuss, and then the leader had to write like a paper, and then we each had to write our whole group had to write a paper like every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's intense. This is super easy. I'm just doubting it.
I know, right? And a lot of my groups, we meet and then we have big assignments to do together, or projects, something like that.
Yeah. Also, the 360 thing, is that just like grading each other? Or what is that thing? Do you know?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it's just like kind of a group evaluation.
Well, that's easy. Hey, also, Amanda, if you could put the link on that, I can think of it, the discussion board, the What Google Learned Activity discussion board.
There it is, the discussion agenda.
Yeah, I just know we're supposed to do that.
Oh, wait. Hannah, is there a discussion board again this week?
No, so what it is, it's just What Google Learned Activity, and in it says to post like the thread. So if the teacher wants to come in and observe, they can.
Okay. Let me find it real quick.
It's just
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
What Google Learned Activity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, it should be up.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, the power cord. Yeah, it should be the right one. Okay. I was sending the link to Gmails, but I think they might be checking their
school emails.
Yeah. I can send it to the other one too. Let's see if that one goes through. I seriously have the worst luck with the Google Hangouts. I don't like how they've changed it to YouTube.
Yeah, you don't have to do it like that. There's other ways, but yeah, I agree. The one doing it through YouTube is kind of a bit of a pain.
Okay.
Hey, yeah.
There we go.
I'm just waiting on David now. Hopefully he got it. There we go.
Hey.
Hey guys.
How's it going?
Oh, the usual. Lots of schoolwork, lots of pain. Can't really tell between the difference.
It's only the start of the semester.
Don't say that.
I don't think that helps anyone.
But don't worry, you have more to look forward to. Like maybe getting hit by a train that fell out of the sky.
There you go. All right, should I go ahead and start?
1 sec, give me a moment. Sorry, I hyperextended my knee, so there's like 4 things I'm trying to do.
Oh.
And I can barely walk. I was playing dodgeball. I didn't expect it to go that way. Okay, I'm ready.
Dodgeball can be a dangerous sport.
Well,
Let's see. Sean, would you mind giving an opening prayer?
Sure. Dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this day. We're grateful that we could gather together as a group, that everything's working fine, that can discuss our courses. We ask you please watch over us and bless us in these times and help us in our studies. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
amen.
Thank you. All right, so this week we had the article about Google and how they formed the perfect team. First impressions of the article?
I thought it was pretty interesting.
Google does everything awesome.
I kind of like,
True,
though,
they
that
do.
in the middle they're like, this is nearly impossible to find out what makes a team successful, what doesn't.
I love that they said that the worst thing than finding one or two trends is finding way too many trends and not enough trends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Okay, so, well, from your personal experiences, what have you guys noticed are behaviors that make a good team?
For one, I think willingness to contribute. A lot of times people won't, either certain people in the group or like the whole group in general just doesn't want to really work together. And that can really cause friction and problems and things to go at a snail's pace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Was
sometimes,
it? No, go ahead.
no, ladies first.
I was going to say, was it this class where we had the article about attitude?
About attitude?
Yeah, I had a discussion. I don't remember if it was this class. My classes are all blending together. But you said,
Yeah.
work together. And one of my classes last week talked about, how attitude can make a huge difference on things.
Oh yeah, we talked about that with the case study.
And was it this class? I can't blending together. Or was it with the reading?
Well, we were talking about how that one guy had a coercion style.
Okay, yes.
And that only works in companies that are like failing.
Yeah.
Hey guys, you guys are breaking in and out. I'm gonna leave and then come right back.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard someone coming in and out. I thought it might have been me.
Man,
But yeah, sorry, I cut you off, David. What were you gonna say?
So I'm sorry. What was the question again?
Behaviors that make a good team.
Oh, I just figured the readings, the willingness to contribute there, the leader being willing to listen, because if the leader micromanages, you know how Google was surprised that micromanagement is not a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
It'll lead to instability in the work and have dire consequences to those.
So, yeah, I think you guys have pretty much nailed a bunch of things. So I'm actually making a workshop, like a 6-week workshop in one of my classes about teamwork. And most of those things are exactly what I'm doing. And something else that I think is key is like the transparency, like the communication. So like you guys are on the same page as you're moving forward. There's not like being able to work out misunderstandings before it becomes too late.
Yeah, I like that. It kind of plays along with the article where it talks about, psychological safety and how, you can communicate those misunderstandings and you can talk about them and you can be open and, actually discuss things without having to worry about, these huge repercussions that'll mess up the dynamic and everything.
Yep. And we also
what was that?
I was just saying, and we have to communicate, learn to work together, empathize with each other's needs.
Exactly. Let's see. The next question they have on here is, what do group norms have to do with effective team building? And what would you say your current group norms include, spoken and unspoken? Are they healthy? And if not, what could be changed? I feel like this is a hard question because we've only met once.
I know. I was thinking that, like, I don't know if we have a group norm yet. It's kind of we meet on time. I guess that's a group norm. We're all pretty punctual about that.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, that's one thing that I wrote in my report was like how I think we're still developing group norms, but one of the main things that like the benefit from having group norms is it just creates efficiency when people know what to expect of their coworkers and their teammates. They can rely on them to complete certain things, and and just it helps smooth communication and how things get done as well. Just creates efficiency.
I think there's also negative parts to group norms. Like, for example, if like one person takes over and does everything, and like you're just used to that, and everyone else kind of sits and free rides it the way through the group.
I didn't think of that. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, there's also the times where the discussion gets so heated where only a couple people are participating, and some people get lost in the conversation and they can't really give their opinion because they don't feel safe to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not saying this is against any of you guys, but one of the things is I'm not sure how our structure is, so I don't know who says what, when. And for me, I mean, it's not a huge thing, but sometimes it can feel like if I had to say we had a group norm, is that we all aren't comfortable talking to each other yet. And that's only because this is our second time meeting, so.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think the whole online dynamic is a little interesting. I mean, it's when you're actually face to face, you can kind of read someone and tell when they want to say something. A computer screen, it's a little harder.
Especially with lag.
Yep. Let's see. Okay, so just kind of moving on, I guess, psychological safety. How does psychological safety in a team increase overall effectiveness?
I think David kind of talked about it already. Like when we feel comfortable talking with each other, and we don't feel like there's the like underlying norm that there's someone like there'll be like bad repercussions if you say something, that it kind of opens up the conversation more.
Yeah, if you feel safe, based off like what you're saying about what I was saying is basically if we feel safe with each other, we feel comfortable talking about each other, and we're confident that neither of us is going to bully each other, it becomes easier to work.
Yeah, definitely. Lost my train of thought. But yes, I agree. It's important to you can say what you want to say, because otherwise you're just kind of going to be holding it back, and nobody benefits from that. So, what are the roles of communication, or what are the roles of communication and empathy in creating psychological safety? So, how do you create that psychological safety, and what roles do communication and empathy play in that creation?
I don't know if I understand the question.
Yeah, can you
I don't really
repeat that?
understand it either. I'm looking at it, reading it over and over in my head.
The question is asking, basically, how does communication and empathy create psychological safety?
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that, David. So I actually just read reading a book in another class, and we just had a whole chapter on empathy. And I think the main basis of empathy is feeling other people's feeling, like kind of like seeing where they're coming from. And so if you have that, I feel like if you know that your group has empathy for one another, that you're more likely to feel like that you're being heard. And not just heard, that people understand where you're coming from, and they understand you a little bit better.
I like that. That's a good point. I'm trying to find it in the article where it kind of talked about this. They talked about the eye test.
So that's right in the where the SWAT team leader who turned manager with stage 4 cancer.
Yes. Oh, I found it in here.
It's near the end. last
Yeah.
paragraphs.
Yeah. Yeah, but they were talking about how highly effective teams had a high average social sensitivity, which, you know, kind of like what you guys were saying, it's being intuitive on how people feel based on, you know, voice, expression, other nonverbal cues and stuff like that. And I think that is important. You know, empathy is something that plays a large role in our lives, being able to read people and them and, you know, be able to help them, because sometimes people will be, you know, a little more shy and they don't want to interject their thoughts. But if you can kind of read that and tell are welcome and to the group, then in the future they'll be more willing and able to go ahead and voice their opinions.
Because the thing is, like, without that empathy, like, just what keeps on going in my head, like, especially with the group of type team A or whatever, and then just with as well with the leaders in last week's example and whatnot. If you're not listening to outside opinions, you know, you tend to think your idea is the best idea in the room, but that may not necessarily be the case. And if ideas don't get aired out or challenged, then it produces weak results.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I understood is also communication is a way to flush out problems that people may have, and having empathy is a good way to solve those problems.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, communication will bring it to light, and then empathy will kind of solve it. That's really good. I like that a lot. Okay. So personal experiences. How does sharing personal experiences bring a vulnerable influence to, or sorry, how do sharing personal experiences and being vulnerable influence team dynamics?
Well, when we start making groups, we start forming preconceptions about people, whether or not we intentionally do it or not. But once we form those preconceptions, it's really hard to get past them until we actually get to know the people we're working with. And the longer we work with someone without actually getting to know them, the stronger those preconceptions will become, and the harder it is to get rid of them. When we tell ourselves about each other, you know, reveal something about each other, it's like, oh, I didn't know that. And then your whole perception about that person changes.
Mm-hmm. It's like they become more of a person.
Yep.
Yep. And then also, I mean, for influencing dynamics, you get to know them, and then, you know, it's a friendlier atmosphere. I feel like, you know, you feel comfortable with them, and then if you can talk to them about something personal and vulnerable, it will be easier.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Let's say they ask, do you have any personal examples of this in organizations you are involved in? Any examples?
Anyone? I've got one.
Okay, go for it, David.
Am I the only one that has a personal experience, though?
I think so. Unless Sean does.
So
I didn't quite understand that. Go ahead, David. If I think of something, else.
So I'm in the ROTC, or I was. I'm taking a break off because I had some financial aid issues. But when I was in the ROTC, I was having some trouble running, and a cadet came up to me and basically telling me about his personal experiences and how he struggled with similar things, and that if I keep at it, keep working at it, things will become easier. And pretty much he told me some other things, and they're pretty personal, so I'm not gonna tell everyone. But pretty much he basically told me that who he was through what he was telling me, he gained a lot of my confidence. So I work hard every day knowing that I can become better through those experiences.
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else have any experiences of how being vulnerable or sharing something personal has influenced dynamics?
Just me thinking, like, probably my more poignant example would be like just within the church. Times I've spoken with leaders, or like when I was a missionary, sometimes revealing something personal was very helpful to just kind of earn trust with the person or gain trust. Just because you gain more understanding of each other and see where one person's either coming from or where they've been, and it just kind of breeds understanding.
Yeah, that actually sparked some thoughts. It's kind of like with relationships too. Like when you're like sharing parts of yourself and who you are, kind of letting yourself out there, you kind of really start to grow trust for each other that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I've noticed a pattern of trust. I'm realizing why we're reading the book we're reading in the class. Everything comes back to trust. But yeah, I mean, it is important when you share that something personal, because it's, I don't know, I don't really share personal things with just anybody. I don't think anybody does. And so when you do, kind of create a bond with that person, and that opens up a whole new playing field for whether it's, your personal relationship or a work relationship. It kind of relaxes the atmosphere a little bit. Let's see. So what can we do as individuals to initiate effective team behavior?
What can we what?
What can you do as what can you do to initiate effective team behavior?
I think one thing is like being willing to put yourself out there. Like the example in this story about the one guy that was talking about his cancer and things like that. Like he was the first one to kind of take that step forward, and so in some respects, we all can kind of take that first step forward, one way or another. And then another thing is just like being willing to listen and learn. Because if somebody else takes that step, you want to be able to reciprocate and establish good relationships.
Also asking questions, right? Being willing to get to know the other person.
Yeah, I think willingness is a big factor there. And it's something that people can kind of read, I feel like, because if you're there and someone's talking to you and you're just kind of off in your own little world, not caring what's going on, that's going to be understood.
Yeah, people that are genuine are definitely liked more, and they feel they're someone actually cares. People are willing to open up more, and I think, especially with you guys, I'm sure you all had a leader that was just everyone liked them, or someone that everyone likes, and you kind of realize you just realize that person because they care about people. They care. Then they're going to listen to you. They're going to care about you, and so if they ask you to do something, you're going to do it because they would do the same for you. And so that's a good way to initiate that type of thing is to make sure that you're the person that would do it first.
I like that. I used to, when I graduated high school, I went to school in Idaho there in Rexburg, and I worked at Arby's for a while. And yeah, like I mentioned, you can tell with certain leaders when they would want to do it themselves. I had a few supervisors there, and you could tell when they're willing to be the leader and be the example. It influences the whole team because then everyone else wants to kind of step up to the plate as well. Does anyone else have anything on that one?
I don't.
I got that.
All right.
I got nothing.
Moving on then. So looking at the kind of overall article, what are some of the key concepts we can take away about, finding the perfect group?
One thing that I got from in the details is like be flexible, because like you said, like there's no rule. But like, I mean, obviously the case study talks about a few patterns and we've talked about some of those things, but at the same time, it also talks about how they had a hard time finding a pattern. So one thing that I think is important to keep in mind when you're forming a team, like don't make rash judgments, because the team's makeup may be very different from one that you've worked with before, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a bad thing. Like it could be a good thing, or just because the team makeup may not be exactly what you expect it to be, can still be successful. It may be successful in a completely different way than you've ever experienced before. So just keep an open mind and find a way that your team can work best together, I guess. My point.
Just adding off that, you could always look before you leap. Basically, that means make sure you know what you're talking about before you go and make judgments.
Yeah.
Which just requires listening to people, talking to them, getting to know them. You can't. If you don't know the people you're working with, then you're not going to do well.
Very true. Yeah. I think one thing that I kind of took away from it is just kind of, piggybacking on what both of you guys said, each team is going to be different. And I think we kind of a lot of it relies on the people, I feel like, because honestly, you can't change a person. I feel bad saying that, but it's true. You're going to deal with difficult people, in every workplace, every work situation. So I think it's important just to kind of be the person that you want your team to be, if that makes sense. Be the example, be the leader, set the initiative, and be sensitive to those around you. Because I like in the article how it talked about the combined IQ of the teams somewhere, and how one team could have a couple really smart people that do everything, but the other team, everyone kind of participates and does their own little piece. Both teams kind of come out the same. Whereas the second team, they work together better and they're more efficient. And I think it's important to kind of include everyone and make sure that everyone does feel included. Or, I don't know, it's something to get adjusted to each team, because everyone, like you said, every team's different. And yeah, sorry, I'm kind of rambling.
No, that was good. Thanks.
But let's see. We're ending kind of early here. I feel like this was a quick one to go through. The article kind of thing.
Yeah, this week was kind of weird. It seemed kind of short, or just not very deep in subject, to where you can tell it's an important one and it's a good one to go over, but it's not like a full case study like last week's was or something like that.
Yeah.
There was a lot to talk about last week. It's kind of hard for us to come up with a ton of different things, especially with the fact that it was just, it's really hard to have a different opinion when it was so straightforward.
Yeah, it wasn't a case study with a problem either.
Yeah. So I guess any last comments?
It's Amanda's fault.
It's all Amanda's fault.
I'm the one being the group lead next week, right?
Actually, I have, let's see. Lesson 5 is David.
All right, next week. week after.
Okay, I'll forward this to you guys. I'll forward the schedule to everyone.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, so next week we have David is delayed. And I accidentally opened up that agenda when I was looking for this one. And there's a lot more questions on that one. So
Oh, lovely.
a full hour then probably.
Maybe. It depends. I might have mercy on your soul.
That would be great. Friday night. Anyways, like I'm in California. Where's everyone else?
I'm in Rexburg, actually.
Yeah,
Okay.
me too.
I'm in Rexburg.
Oh,
I used to work at Albertsons right by Arby's.
awesome. Very cool.
So we're all in Rexburg?
next year.
Yeah. I just didn't want to go. Didn't have to do the. I don't know if I didn't want to, or if I actually might not have been available during the times I needed for the
I'm working
campus.
like 25 hours, so online classes are a lot easier with the schedule.
Yeah.
Mm.
So we can do everything at night.
Are we good with the 5 o'clock time, or did we want to like maybe meet earlier next week?
5 o'clock is the best time for me because I have a workout class at 4:15. It takes me about 20 minutes to get home.
Okay.
And I did hurt my knee, so it might take me a little bit longer now.
Okay. So I want to make sure. So
All
5
right.
o'clock again next week.
Okay.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. We'll see you next week.
All right.
Amanda, just word of the wise when you're doing this, make sure that you're sharing it with the teacher's email. Like,
Oh, that's okay. Good to know.
because like mine, and like double triple check it, because like last week I thought I had shared it when I created the hangout or whatever. Thought I had shared it with her, but for some reason it like didn't, and so like I went in today, like I saw that I had an email from her, like comment saying that, oh, like I can't see this, and it's like, okay, so I had to go back in and like change the permissions again. So just
Okay.
make sure.
I think it might be good to put it in like posting.
Yeah, there's there's a post every week that's like group activity, and so that's where you'll want to post the link, but she won't be able to click on the link
Once you share it.
unless she has permission to.
Okay.
Download it onto YouTube and then you just share the YouTube video.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I was gonna do. I'll
when you create it, you're supposed to still create it with not public. You're supposed to make it private, and so you're still supposed to add the permission.
we're
I never
supposed to
did that
private.
in those classes.
I made it public. Okay.
I mean, whatever works. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. I don't think so.
These are pretty private conversations, though.
Seriously.
All right.
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
want
that's
to
right.
numbers too. If you guys have any questions or anything that comes up, just text, and hopefully we can help each other out with the class as well.
Yeah, I've been having
Definitely.
finding the Zoom and Win. Like, I did not realize that we had something like read until like a week later, you know.
What's going on?
I don't know. I hear somebody's sister or something in the background. It sounds adorable.
Yeah, that's my wife and kid watching a video.
Oh, fun. All right, awesome. So same time next week then?
Okay, see you guys later.
All right, see you.
Awesome. Thank you guys.